What if the greatest threat to Pandora didn't come from humans alone, but from the Gnostics themselves? After the death of Neytiri, the Sully family is left broken, divided, and questioning everything they believe in. Neytiri's grief turns into hatred. Loak is consumed by guilt. Jake Sully begins to lose faith in Iwa itself. But when a violent Gnostics clan known as the Ash People rises from the shadows, and a human child becomes the key to Pandora's future, the line between ally and enemy completely disappears. This is the story of fire, loss, betrayal, and rebirth. This is Avatar, Fire and Ash. Weeks have passed since the death of Neytiri, but the pain still feels fresh and heavy for Jake Sully and his family. Grief hangs over them like a storm cloud that never moves. Neytiri barely speaks anymore, and when she does, her voice carries anger instead of warmth. The loss of her firstborn has burned something deep inside her, turning her sorrow into hatred toward humans and everything they bring to Pandora. Loak, meanwhile, carries guilt like a wound that never closes. He believes Neytiri died because of him, and no matter what anyone says, he cannot forgive himself. Jake tries to remain strong for his family, but even he is growing tired. Years of fighting, running, and losing loved ones have worn him down. For the first time, Jake begins to question whether Iwa is truly protecting them, or if faith alone is no longer enough. The Sully family slowly settles back into life among the Metkayina clan, hoping the calm waters will help heal old wounds. But peace is fragile. One day, while exploring the wreckage of a destroyed RDA vessel near the reef, Loak discovers something unexpected. Buried beneath ash and twisted metal, he finds Neytiri's old bow, damaged but recognizable. Holding it brings back memories of better days, of family, of strength. Loak takes it with him, unaware that this simple discovery will soon pull them all back into danger. Jake and Neytiri make a painful decision soon after. They believe Spider is no longer safe with them. As a human raised among the Gnostics, he is too valuable a target for the RDA, and too vulnerable without proper protection. With heavy hearts, they decide to send Spider away with the Wind Traders, a group of flying merchants led by Palak. Spider will travel alone aboard their ships back to High Camp, where humans and scientists live under Gnostics' protection. The decision tears at the family, especially Kiri, but Jake believes it is the only way to keep Spider alive. The Wind Trader ships rise into the sky, gliding peacefully above Pandora's vast forests and mountains. For a brief moment, it seems the journey will be safe. But without warning, the ships are suddenly surrounded. Dark shapes appear from the clouds, swift and violent. They belong to the Manquan clan, also known as the Ash People, a fierce and feared Gnostics tribe that rejects Iwa and embraces destruction. Leading them is their ruthless Sahik, Varung, whose presence alone strikes fear into her enemies. The Manquan attack without mercy, setting the ships on fire, looting their supplies, and slaughtering survivors. Chaos erupts in the sky as screams echo through smoke and flame. The Sully family, who had been traveling nearby, rushes into the fight, but the attack is overwhelming. During the battle, Neytiri is struck by an arrow fired by Varung herself. The arrow pierces her shoulder, and she collapses mid-air. Her Banshee, sensing her pain, instinctively carries her away from the battlefield toward High Camp. There, Neytiri is taken in by her mother, Emoet, along with scientists led by Norm Spellman. They work quickly to save her life, treating the wound and calming her fever as the reality of the attack sinks in. Elsewhere, the Wind Trader ship carrying Spider crashes deep in the forest. Amid the wreckage, Loak manages to escape along with the other children. He grabs a rifle left behind by the attackers, unsure if he will need it to survive. Smoke rises from the crash site, and the sounds of battle fade into the distance. Jake tries desperately to reconnect with Loak, but communication is lost. Panic sets in as Jake searches the area, calling out for his son. Before he can find them, he is suddenly surrounded. Emerging from the shadows are Colonel Quaritch and his loyal soldier, Lyle Wainfleet. They had been tracking Jake, planning to capture him alive. The ambush leaves Jake with no escape. As they restrain him, Quaritch learns about the Manquan attack and realizes something far worse. Spider, along with the children, is out there without backup oxygen masks. Even Quaritch understands what that means for a human child on Pandora. Despite years of hatred between them, Quaritch makes a rare decision. He agrees to work with Jake, temporarily setting aside their war, to rescue the children before it is too late. As Spider's oxygen supply begins to fail, panic grips the group. He struggles to breathe, his vision blurring as his body weakens. In a moment of pure instinct, Kiri kneels and connects her cue to the ground. The forest responds. Strange glowing mycelium spores rise from the soil, spreading through the air like mist. As Spider breathes them in, something incredible happens. His lungs adjust, allowing him to breathe Pandora's air without a mask. The others watch in shock, realizing that Aiwa has touched Spider in a way no human has experienced before. Before they can escape, the Menkwan capture them. The Ash people show no respect for Aiwa or its laws. They see Loeke's rifle as a symbol of power and threaten him, planning to strengthen themselves with human weapons. Loeke stands his ground, refusing to break even as Varung tests his will. Impressed by his courage, Varung turns her attention to Quaritch. She forces him to teach her people how to use guns, believing firearms will make the Menkwan unstoppable. Using her deep connection to Aiwa, Kiri summons the forest once more. Vines, roots, and plants surge forward, restraining Menkwan warriors and creating chaos. In the confusion, the children manage to escape, fleeing through the jungle towards safety. By morning, Jake and the survivors are rescued by a high camp search party. Neytiri is still recovering, and Quaritch and Wainfleet return to their duties, their uneasy alliance with Jake coming to an end. At high camp, Norm and Max examine Spider and make a shocking discovery. His cellular biology has changed. An unknown organism now exists within him, altering his DNA. They realize this change could be reverse-engineered, allowing humans to breathe on Pandora naturally and even develop cues to bond with wildlife. The discovery could change everything. The Sully family returns to the Metkayina clan to regroup, but tensions rise. Neytiri, still grieving, suggests sacrificing Spider, believing he is now a dangerous liability. Jake refuses, torn between fear and love. Meanwhile, Kiri learns the truth of her birth, discovering she was created through parthenogenesis from Grace Augustine's avatar, guided by the will of Aiwa. Life among the Metkayina should have offered healing, but instead, tensions only grow. The Ocean Clan senses unrest within the Sully family, especially in Neytiri. Her grief has hardened into something dangerous. She speaks openly about Spider as a threat, not a child. To her, he represents humanity, the same force that took her son. Jake struggles to keep the family together, trying to balance compassion with survival. Kiri remains close to Spider, quietly helping him adjust to his new ability to breathe Pandora's air. The bond between them deepens, though neither fully understands what it means yet. The Tulkun Council soon gathers for an important judgment. Payakan, the outcast Tulkun who once aided Loeke, stands accused of breaking the sacred laws of pacifism. The council matriarch declares Payakan guilty, blaming him for violence against humans in the past. She strips him of honor and outcasts him permanently. Loeke speaks out in Payakan's defense, insisting that the Tulkun fought only to protect others. Jake silences him harshly, his frustration boiling over. He blames Nedium's death on Loeke's constant defiance and reckless behavior. The words cut deeper than any blade. Loeke says nothing, but inside, he breaks. That night, consumed by guilt and shame, Loeke swims alone into the open sea. He believes his family would be better off without him. As he prepares to let the current take him, Kiri and Cyria find him just in time. They pull him back, holding him as he finally breaks down and cries. Cyria reminds him that he is not alone, and Kiri assures him that Aiwa does not make mistakes. Their words bring Loeke back from the edge. The next morning, he quietly repairs Neytiri's damaged bow, honoring his brother's memory, then leaves the village without telling anyone. His destination is clear. He must find Payakan. While the Sully family struggles, the Arde continues its expansion across Pandora. At Bridgehead City, General Francis Ardmore leads operations with ruthless efficiency. Former Administrator Parker Selfridge works alongside her, focused on long-term colonization rather than war. Their goal is clear. Pandora must be tamed, no matter the cost. Quaritch, now operating more independently, travels to the Manquan territory. He brings crates of weapons, firearms, and flamethrowers, offering them to Varong and her people. His plan is simple. If the Ash people help him recapture Spider, the RDA can study his altered biology and replicate it for human use. Varong listens carefully. She despises Iowa and sees the RDA's technology as a path to domination. Quaritch promises her power beyond any clan, territory, or belief system. Together, he says they can conquer Pandora. Varong agrees. As the alliance forms, something darker grows between them. Varong becomes intrigued by Quaritch's strength and defiance, and she begins to court him in her own fierce way. Their bond is built not on trust, but on shared hunger for control. Back at the reef, Kiri continues helping Spider adapt. She teaches him how to connect with Pandora's creatures, guiding him gently as he bonds with small wildlife for the first time. Spider is overwhelmed but grateful, feeling closer to Pandora than ever before. In a quiet moment beneath glowing coral, Kiri and Spider share a brief, innocent kiss. It is tender and uncertain, filled with emotion neither fully understands. But happiness is short-lived. Without warning, Spider is ambushed and captured by RDA forces. He is taken to Bridgehead City for analysis. News of his capture spreads quickly, reaching Quaritch, who sees this as his chance to prove the value of his alliance with the Manquan. Soon after, Quaritch leads a combined force of RDA soldiers and Ash people directly to the Metkayina village. The sight of flamethrowers and warships terrifies the Reef clan. Faced with overwhelming force, Jake chooses to surrender to protect his people. He is taken prisoner and transported to Bridgehead City, where he is sentenced to execution. At the RDA base, Spider is placed under constant observation. Scientists are eager to study him, but they refuse to kill him, knowing his biology is too valuable. When Jake is brought in, Spider uses his position as leverage. He places himself between Jake and the soldiers, acting as a human shield. His bravery buys Jake time. Meanwhile, deep within the base, marine biologist Ian Garvin watches helplessly as the RDA prepares a new operation. Mick Scoresby's whaling fleet has detected hundreds of Tulkun gathering for their annual mating event. The potential profit is massive. Garvin pleads with them to stop, warning of the consequences, but his objections are ignored. Back in the ocean, Loake finally finds Payaken. The massive Tulkun greets him with sorrow and relief. Alongside Payaken is Tanoke, the last surviving member of his clan. Loake explains the coming danger, urging them to fight not for revenge, but survival. Tsairia, Aonung, and Ratso soon join him, having tracked Loake across the sea. Together, they prepare to warn the Metkayina and Tulkun councils of the impending massacre. Meanwhile, Neytiri recovers from her wounds and makes a bold choice. Alone, she infiltrates Bridgehead City, moving through shadows with deadly precision. Inside the base, Ian Garvin finally snaps. Overcome with guilt, he steals a bulldozer and crashes through security barriers, creating chaos. In the confusion, he reaches Jake's containment unit and shatters the glass. Jake is free. As alarms blare, soldiers flood the area. Spider once again places himself in harm's way, forcing the RDA to hesitate. Jake escapes with Neytiri and Spider aboard her Ikran. As they fly back toward the reef, Jake's fear overwhelms him. He believes Spider's existence will doom them all. In a moment of darkness, Jake prepares to kill him mid-flight. Neytiri stops him. She reminds Jake that Spider saved his life. Jake hesitates, then lowers his weapon. Neytiri breaks down, finally accepting Spider not as a human threat, but as family. They return to the Metkayina village with a warning. The RDA is coming for the Tulkun. The council listens but refuses to act, bound by tradition and fear of breaking sacred laws. Just as hope fades, Loake arrives with Payakan and Tanoke. Their presence forces the council to confront the truth. Jake steps forward, rebonding with the mighty Toruk. Once more, he becomes Toruk Makto. His roar echoes across the sea and sky as Na6 clans from all regions answer his call to war. The day of battle arrives with dark clouds rolling across the sky and the sea growing restless. Jake Sully, once again riding the Great Torok, leads a massive alliance of Na6 clans toward the open waters where the Tulkun gather. Warriors from forests, reefs, mountains, and skies unite for a single purpose: protect the Tulkun, protect Pandora. As the sun rises, Arda ships appear on the horizon, massive and armored, cutting through the ocean with deadly intent. Mick Scoresby's whaling fleet moves into position, confident and ruthless, unaware of the storm waiting for them. The first clash is sudden and overwhelming. Tulkun surge from the depths, smashing into ships with incredible force. Na6 riders attack from above, firing arrows and explosives at weak points. The ocean erupts into chaos as flames, smoke, and water collide. Scoresby orders his crews to fight back, unleashing harpoons and missiles. Several Tulkun are wounded, but they do not retreat. They fight not with rage, but with purpose, protecting their families and sacred waters. Suddenly, a new threat emerges. From behind the smoke, Quaritch arrives with Menquan warriors mounted on burning aircraft. Flamethrowers light up the sky as ash people descend on the battlefield. Their attack is brutal and merciless. Na6 warriors fall as fire spreads across the water's surface. Amid the chaos, Ratso is struck and killed, dying in Aonung's arms. His death shakes the Metkayina fighters, fueling both grief and fury. Rana leads a charge to protect the Tulkun calves, fighting with everything she has despite her pregnancy. During the assault, she is gravely wounded. Though she manages to retreat, her condition worsens quickly. Back at the reef, Ronald gives birth to her child, Prill, before succumbing to her injuries. Neytiri holds the newborn, tears falling as she promises the child a future worth fighting for. As the battle intensifies, Quaritch and Varung push forward, capturing Neytiri during a brutal skirmish. Varung takes pride in her victory, believing she has finally broken the Sully family. Jake learns of Neytiri's capture and is consumed by rage. Without hesitation, he and Lo AK set out to rescue her, diving into the heart of enemy territory. Meanwhile, Spider approaches Quaritch alone. Knowing the man who raised him still cares in his own twisted way, Spider offers himself in exchange for Neytiri's freedom. Quaritch hesitates, torn between duty and emotion. Varung scoffs at the deal, but Quaritch ultimately agrees. Neytiri is released, and Spider leaves with Quaritch aboard his aircraft. As they fly away, Jake intercepts them mid-air on the Torok. The collision sends them crashing onto massive floating rocks suspended by magnetic fields high above the battlefield. On the floating rocks, gravity shifts and distorts, making every movement dangerous. Jake and Quaritch face each other once more, surrounded by smoke, fire, and falling debris. Their fight is brutal and personal, fists and blades clashing as years of hatred explode into violence. Below them, the battle continues to rage across sea and sky. Back near the reef, Kiri feels Iwa calling to her. With Spider gone and the battlefield collapsing, she knows this is the moment she was born for. Alongside Tuck, she connects her cue to the underwater spirit tree. Her consciousness spreads across Pandora. Creatures from land, sea, and air answer her call. Massive sea predators tear through RDA vessels, while aerial beasts swarm Menquan aircraft. The tide of battle begins to turn. Tanoke confronts Mick Scoresby aboard the whaling flagship. With a powerful strike, Tanoke kills Scoresby, ending the whaler's reign of terror. As RDA forces falter, Kiri senses Varang's presence and reaches out through Iwa's network. Vines and roots rise from the floating rocks, wrapping around Varang and overwhelming her. Kiri faces her directly, eyes glowing with Iwa's power. Terrified by something she cannot control or understand, Varang flees, abandoning her warriors and her alliance with Quaritch. Above it all, the Torok dives toward the RDA flagship. A massive magnetic flux builds around the vessel as Pandora itself seems to reject it. In a blinding explosion, the flagship is destroyed, killing General Ardmore and crippling RDA command. The remaining ships begin to retreat, their forces shattered. On the floating rocks, the duel reaches its climax. Quaritch gains the upper hand, nearly killing Jake. In a moment of desperation, Spider picks up a fallen weapon and shoots Quaritch in the arm. The impact sends Spider slipping off the edge of the rock. He falls, screaming, into open air. Quaritch reacts instantly, grabbing Spider and clinging to the rock's edge. Both are moments from death. Jake reaches them and faces an impossible choice. Kill Quaritch and let Spider fall, or save them both. Without hesitation, Jake grabs them and pulls them to safety. Neytiri and the children arrive just in time, surrounding Quaritch. Defeated and wounded, Quaritch looks at Spider one last time. Instead of fighting, he steps backward and jumps off the floating rock, disappearing into the clouds below. As the battlefield grows quiet, surviving RDA forces retreat from the region. Fires die out, and the sea slowly calms. The cost of victory is heavy, but Pandora has survived. In the days that follow, the Sully family reunites, grieving their losses and honoring the fallen. The Tulkuns sing songs of remembrance that echo across the ocean. Spider, changed forever, joins the Sullys as they connect to the underwater spirit trees. For the first time, Spider experiences Iwa fully. He sees the spirits of the fallen Gnostics, including Neytiri and Ronald. Kiri gently guides him through the vision, introducing him to Grace Augustine. Grace smiles at Spider, welcoming him with love and acceptance. As the vision fades, Iwa's presence spreads across Pandora like a living web, connecting every creature, every tree, every soul. Spider is welcomed into the clan, not as a human outsider, but as part of Pandora itself. The war may not be over forever, but for now, balance has been restored. In the days following the battle, Pandora enters a quiet period of mourning and healing. The waters around the Metkayina village are calm again, but the scars of war remain. Burned wreckage sinks slowly into the depths, becoming part of the reef, while damaged coral begins the long process of recovery. The Gnostics honor their fallen with songs and rituals, allowing Iwa to guide the spirits of the dead back into the great network of life. For the Sully family, the victory feels bittersweet. They survived, but at great cost. Neytiri struggles deeply with the loss of Ronald and the pain of nearly losing her family. Holding the newborn Prill reminds her of everything that has been taken, but also of what must be protected. She spends long hours by the sea, teaching the child the songs of the Metkayina and whispering stories of courage and love. Slowly, her anger begins to fade, replaced by a quiet strength rooted in acceptance rather than hatred. Jake Sully reflects on his journey as Toruk Makto once more. He understands now that leadership is not about endless fighting, but about knowing when to stand firm and when to let go. He steps back from constant command, allowing the clans to rebuild on their own terms. Jake no longer doubts Iwa, not because everything turned out perfectly, but because he finally understands that balance comes through struggle, not avoidance of it. Loike carries guilt for the lives lost, especially Ratso, but his bond with Payakan gives him peace. Together, they swim among the Tulkun, protecting the younger ones and helping guide the wounded. Loike is no longer trying to prove himself. Instead, he listens, learns, and grows into the warrior he is meant to be. Jake watches him from afar, realizing that his son has found his own path, one shaped by compassion rather than rebellion. Kiri's role in the battle has changed how the clans see her. Many now believe she is a direct voice of Iwa, though Kiri herself feels uncertain. The power she wields is immense, but it comes with emotional weight. She confides in Spider, who understands better than anyone what it feels like to be different. Together, they spend time exploring both land and sea, strengthening their bond in quiet moments away from expectations and prophecy. Spider, now fully able to breathe Pandora's air, struggles with his identity. Though he is welcomed into the clan, he still remembers his human origins. The visions he experienced at the spirit tree haunt him in a peaceful way. Seeing Neytiri, Ronald, and Grace Augustine has changed him. He understands now that Pandora is not just a world he lives on, but a world that lives within him. At Bridgehead City, the aftermath is grim. With General Ardmore dead and the flagship destroyed, Arday leadership fractures. Parker Selfridge assumes temporary authority and orders a retreat from the region. Resources are stretched thin, morale is broken, and many soldiers question whether Pandora can ever truly be conquered. Quietly, plans shift from domination to survival. The dream of complete control begins to die. The Menquan clan returns to their scorched lands without Varum. Leaderless and divided, they face the consequences of rejecting Iwa. Some members begin questioning their path, while others cling to destruction. Pandora watches, patient and unyielding, waiting to see whether they will choose balance or extinction. Far from the battlefield, the Wind Traders resume their journeys across the sky. Their ships are rebuilt, and their songs return to the clouds. Palak honors those lost by spreading their stories to every clan he visits, ensuring the sacrifices made are never forgotten. One night, beneath the glowing moon, the Sully family gathers at the underwater spirit tree together. This time, Spider joins them fully, placing his hands against the living roots. Iwa welcomes him without hesitation. He feels the pulse of Pandora, the endless flow of memories, voices, and life. He is no longer an outsider looking in. He belongs. In the vision, Spider sees Grace Augustine again. She tells him that being human or Gnostics is not what defines him. Choice does. Love does. When the vision fades, Spider emerges changed, calmer, more confident in who he is becoming. Kiri smiles, sensing that Iwa's network has expanded in ways even the Gnostics do not fully understand. Pandora is evolving, adapting, and Spider is now part of that future. The connection between all living things grows stronger, spreading across oceans, forests, and skies like a vast, living web. As dawn breaks, Jake looks out over the water, holding Neytiri's hand. Their family has endured loss, betrayal, and war, but they are still standing. Pandora still stands. The fire brought destruction, but the ash nourished new life. Balance has been restored, not because the enemy was defeated, but because the people of Pandora chose unity over fear. In the end, Pandora survived not because it was untouched by fire, but because it endured the ashes left behind. The Sully family emerged forever changed, carrying loss, love, and hope into an uncertain future. Spider found his place, Kiri embraced her destiny, and Iwa's network grew stronger than ever before. War may return one day, but for now, balance has been restored. And as long as Pandora lives, its people will rise again. The story does not end with peace forever, but with hope. Hope that future generations will learn from the past. Hope that Pandora will continue to protect those who protect her. And hope that even in a world shaped by fire and ash, life will always find a way to rise again. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gripping movie explanations like this.